What's that? Sorry? Someone say? No, there was another one that I'm forgetting. One of the original Naughty Dog ones on the PS1. Which one? Crash Bandicoot, that's it, yeah, exactly. So Crash Bandicoot, some of those original, awesome character-based games on the PlayStation. Anyway, so really, really great producer. And he created something called the Cerny method. You can actually Google that. He's done presentations on the Cerny method. And it's his kind of philosophy on production, how to sort of create game projects. And one of the key things about the Cerny method is that he admits up front that he does not know which ideas are going to be the good ideas. Right? He has no real ability to kind of predict what the hits are going to be, which ones are going to be the successes. So what he does is he puts several of them into production at once. So he gives, 5 different teams within the company, or 10 different teams, a little bit of money, a little bit of resources, and says go to all 10 of them. And, you have a month or 2 months, depending on the scale of the project and budget and so on, to develop your idea. And then at the end of, we'll say it's a month, he looks at the 10 ideas and concepts and where they went. And, the previous slide told us that most ideas suck anyways, so most of the 10 sucks, and so he kills, 8 of the 10. And maybe 2 kind of look promising. And then the 2 then get to go for another month, and they get more resources and more funding to further expand and explore their idea. And then assuming that goes okay, maybe he keeps, one final one. And then that's the one that gets, the millions of dollars and all the resources to actually become a released project. But the idea is that he admits at the front that he's not going to know which ones are the successful ones, and he allows all of them to sort of try, and then through the trying, the experimentation, that's where he's going to discover which ones are good. And having the sort of, he's kind of a jerk, the ability to say, no, you suck, dead, your project's finished, go get another job or whatever, I'm going with these guys. And being able to do that. And a lot of people in the industry don't have that kind of courage to let multiple projects go and kill the ones that don't seem quite so promising. So you can Google Cerny method. And part of the advantage of doing that is looking at sort of the cost structure of the typical game. So we'll draw another graph here. All right, so time on the bottom and cost or dollars. So most projects, start with a conceptualization phase. It goes to conceptualization or prototyping phase, which goes to pre-production. Then that goes into full production, which usually, for large-scale games, can take up to 2 years. And there's a little bit of post-production to, do bug fixes or patches or whatever. Early in that conceptualization phase, you don't need many people. Now I'm thinking of big-scale console, Halo type game. So in the very beginning, it's just a few of us, an artist maybe, a designer maybe a programmer, 2, 3, 4 people coming up with the initial prototypes, initial concepts. Once that gets the green light and approval, then that moves into pre-production, where now maybe there's a few dozen people or a dozen people working, creating sort of a one playable level, trying to sort of discover how the rest of the game is going to be made in terms of the production pipeline, the asset pipeline, et cetera, and then you do the full production and so on. So basically, if we map this out, and it maps kind of directly to cost and headcount, because in most game projects, really the expense is the human resources, it's the labor, it's the salaries and so on. And there's not really that much else in terms of cost. So most projects start off relatively small for a short period of time, and then you kind of go into the pre-production, you're sort of ramping up the team, then you do your long production where you're sort of at peak expense, and then you kind of, you drop off into, horrible, smoothly run. Oh, she's bad again. Not so bad. Okay, so this is sort of your kind of concept phase. This is your pre-production phase. This is your production phase, and this is post. In terms of expense, you're spending the least amount in this kind of early conceptualization phase. right? You only have a few people on the project, they're working for a short amount of time, and so this is where Mark Cerny, the previous guy, kills the projects after that point, because he's only invested a very little amount of money, right? What happens is many companies will only put one project into production, and it'll get going, and they'll be, worrying, oh, geez, maybe this isn't such a great idea, but we've already spent this, this money, let's keep going, and they kind of get over here, and they're like, oh, crap, this is not going to do very well, oh, we're screwed, so just ship it anyway. And they just sort of release garbage onto the market. So one of the key concepts in this idea of failure is if you're going to fail, you want to fail fast. Right? You want to know that you're going to fail over here. You don't want to know you're going to fail over here. Right? So the faster you can fail, the faster you can sort of explore and experiment quickly in the beginning, the better off you're going to be. And that's sort of a key part of the Cerny method, and where the industry around the world is very poor at doing on the whole. Right? They just kind of keep pushing and delaying and pushing and delaying, and then it's all going to be crap anyways, and they're like, oh, well, geez, we spent $10 million, so just put it in the box and ship it. All right, so, and actually, this might be a bit advanced for Peru. This is a Scrum board. Is anyone familiar with Scrum or Agile methodologies around programming and production? So a couple of people. So there's a set of sort of principles or frameworks called Agile, and Scrum is one of those methodologies or frameworks that essentially is a way to organize how you manage